If your New Year's resolution was to only knit from the stash, then I've got the perfect project for you. As hand spinners, we do tend to have lots of little bits of random yarn that we've been playing around with, and so it's really great to find some projects that we can put them into. I've also got some questions to answer that came out of last week's video, where I was making sock yarn to join my woolen mittens sock spin along. If you are new here, my name is Becca and I'm a hand spinner, knitter and newbie weaver, and you're very welcome to, well, actually my car in West Wales. Normally we're somewhere exciting, and we are going somewhere exciting, but I've tried to record this outside, which is what I quite often do, and it is so windy that you just can't hear what I'm saying. So that's why we're in the car. And if you're an old friend, then welcome back. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around, show you where we are, and then we'll go back to the house and dive into the stash. See you in a mo. Today's walk is one of our favourites. It's around the side of Dinas Mountain. And because there are no livestock in this section, the dog can run free and enjoy the countryside. There's a stunning view from here, and on a clear day you can see all the way to the Llyn Peninsula in North Wales, where the sheep breed comes from. But today we're just seeing Cardigan and Newport Bay, and around to Dinas Head, which is a lovely walk also. Colours are quite muted. The bracken is still brown and everything is looking a little wintry still. But here you can see where the gorse has been burnt on purpose by the farmers so that we don't get gorse fires on the mountain in the summer. Welcome to the stash. Oh my goodness, there's actually quite a lot of it. But as with most hand spinners, I've kind of got double stash because I've got yarn and I've got fibre. So I think what I'm going to try and do is just reduce it down to the yarn, and then we'll be able to see a little bit more what I've got, and it won't be quite so overwhelming. So by the magic of editing, I'm going to get rid of all the fibre and just have the yarn out. So still quite a lot, and a lot of it is this kind of stuff, which it is spun to Aran weight, and it's my naturally dyed yarns. So I'm going to open up the boxes and change the camera angle so you can sort of actually have a little look and see what's in here. I do have a project in mind, but quite how much yarn I've got of right colours I'm not quite sure, but anyway, you can have a look and go from there. So there it is in all its glory. I have already decided that I only want to use either naturally coloured, so that's actually Shetland, which was spun by a friend of mine, and so I want to use that, and things that are naturally dyed. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, label everything because you will not remember what it is. I think that's red onion skin, but it might not be. I think it probably is. This is definitely turmeric, but you can also see that I obviously span it and then dyed it as yarn rather than as fibre, because you can see where I tied it up. And I tied it too tight, and there's actually a bit of dye missing there. So I think the best thing to do is, again, reduce it down and get rid of all this stuff that's been either acid dyed or commercial stuff. And actually that is for socks, so I've already got a project for that. So I'm going to weed out anything that is not naturally dyed or just its natural colour. Oh, and also, there you go. That is one of my ugly yarn experiments, which it's not very nice. So that is going to go into the bag of yarn that's for the dog's blanket that I periodically
add another square to. I mean, in theory it was going to work really well, but actually in reality it just does not look that nice. So that is for the ugly yarn bag, and I'll get rid of the brightly coloured stuff. Although I say brightly coloured, that's actually quite brightly coloured, and that is gorse. So you do get really bright colours with natural dyes. Quite like this. This is, I was about to say I know what this is, but actually looking at it, I don't think I do. I think it's a mixture of things, but predominantly it's blackberry. Blackberry is not very light fast, so it's okay to use, but just be aware that it's going to fade. And then, oh yeah, this is a good one. This is Scots pine cones. Don't need a mordant with those because they've got a lot of tannin in them, so they will dye quite nicely without a mordant. There you go. So I'm just going to rearrange all this and see what we've got in the either naturally dyed or natural coloured yarns. Ta-da! Done. So I've got quite a lot of random stuff, just one ball, and then I've got a few. Oh, I thought that was the same, and you know it's not. There you go. One of those is Shetland, and one of those is the Manx Lotham, but I'm not actually quite sure which one it is. And a bit of just undyed. But it's all about Aran weight because that is my favourite weight to spin. I spin relatively consistently. I'm not really that bothered by a bit of thick and thin. I like my handspun to actually look like a human being made it rather than a machine made it. So there's a few things I can do with these. But as I said, I've got a shrug in mind. It's been in my queue in Ravelry forever. So I'm just going to investigate it a bit more. In my head, the design in my head is stripes and sort of inspiration being like these landscape knits and landscape weaves that we're seeing. So I'm just going to arrange these into colour groups and see where we go from there. Here is my potential colour palette. I'm not going to use all those colours. I'm going to try probably to limit it to 6. So there you go. I'm going to go away and play with proportions and pens and pencils and look for some design inspiration and come back to you when I've resolved a few things. I've come down to Lower Town for a bit of design inspiration, and I really was thinking about landscape knitting and using the landscape and the stripes of the landscape. But then of course I got down here and I saw the buildings and I thought, wow, now that's my design inspiration. So I'm going to turn you around and show you what they look like. I'm going to drop in a picture of what I've been playing with. It's a bit of a fail, I think. So I've gone back to the drawing board and I'm going to turn the camera around in a minute and show you what my new idea is. I really felt that actually I needed less colours, so I've gone for a mixture of greens and a natural white. While I had the camera out, I thought I'd just answer some questions that came out of last week's video, and I was talking about spinning socks because I've joined the sock spin along with my woolen mitten,
and I will leave the details of her YouTube channel in the description below. And I was spinning up 3-ply sock yarn, and I talked quite a lot about fibre and which was the best ones to use, and I actually didn't tell you the fibre I was using. So I shall put that right now, and it was 120 grams, which is roughly 6 ounces of a mixture. One of the plies was the Welsh mule from Cambrian Wool Company that I had dyed kind of about a week ago now, I suppose, or maybe a bit longer ago than that. And also I then had some fibre in the stash, which was White Jacob. And I used to help a friend out with his sheep, and payment for me helping with dagging, which not a very nice job, but anyway, I used to help him with that, and worming and various things, is that he would give me some fleeces to play around with. So that was from the stash from a long time ago, but they will make good socks, I think. And yeah, I will show you the results in a few weeks' time when I've got it all knitted up. So the other question I got was about using Shetland, because one of the sock yarns I showed you, I'd actually spun from a commercial comb top that was Shetland, 80% Shetland, 20% bio-nylon, I think, or maybe it was 90-10. Anyway, so that was from World of Wool, and I'd spun that, and it was a really nice spin, and that's going to make really excellent socks. Shetland does make really good socks. I think we quite often assume that because Shetland is used to make those beautiful fine lace weight shawls, then it's very, very fine. The nape of the neck is really, really fine, and if you are a crofter or a small producer and you're hand sorting, you can pull that out and use that. I don't know whether a commercial mill is going to pull that out separately. I suspect not, but if somebody knows, please, let me know and correct me if I'm wrong. The rest of the fleece is not as fine as that. As for felting, it will felt more easily than some of the other down breeds, but not as easily as something that's really, really fine like merino or something like that. I've got a friend who keeps Shetlands, and she basically knits everything with it, loves it, finds it absolutely fine to work with, and she hand sorts and hand cards everything. And as I say, it's her, it's her go-to, because that's what she's got, and she knits socks and jumpers and hats, and I was very lucky enough that she gave me some, and I'm actually using it in my current project. So I hope that answers those questions. If you've got any other questions fibre related, then obviously just drop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer them. I don't always have all the answers. This is just my hobby. I don't do this professionally. This is just kind of 20 odd years of messing about with wool. So, I'm quite prepared to be corrected if I get things wrong. So if you think I've got something wrong, please put it in the comments below. I'm not precious enough to think that I know everything, but that's my 2 penneth on using Shetland. So I've now got to go away and do quite a lot of knitting, so I'm going to see you in a few days' time when I've got the knit underway, and I'll give you details of the shawl no, it's not a shawl, is it? What is it? Shrug, of the shrug I'm knitting, and the pattern details, because it's all on Ravelry and it's a free pattern, and the bits I've done so far, I think it's going to work really well. So see you in a few days' time. So by the magic of editing, here we are, and the sun's out, and I've actually put some washing on the line, kind of more in hope than expectation, but you never know, it might actually dry a little bit. So enough about washing, back to knitting. The pattern I've chosen is called Verdant by, I'm going to have to look here, Gina Bonomo, and it's free on Ravelry, and I will leave a link in the description below. And it's a shrug, and I'm about halfway through. So basically, the idea is that it's going to be 3/4 length sleeves, and what I've done is I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 stripes with a little bit of the undyed in between, and then I will knit another sort of third and then do the repeat on the other sleeve. So this is a nice straightforward pattern, and I do like a straightforward pattern, particularly if I'm sitting sort of in the evenings knitting, watching the TV, chatting, then a nice easy pattern is always a bonus. And the way I try and combine colours is that I try and keep them so that they're the same sort of tones and you haven't got anything that's too clashy. And this would definitely work if you had a sort of range of colours so that you could do a graduated look. Obviously it will depend how many balls of wool of each things that you've got, but you know, again, stripes, just a stripe and maybe 6 colours and then a repeat, and you could do that all the way along. I mean, my idea is that the undyed, just plain white, ties the whole design together so that it kind of feels like it was meant to be like that always, and I haven't just randomly kind of delved into the stash, which I kind of have, but hopefully it looks cohesive and like I designed it to be that way. So that is not going to take me too much long to finish, so hopefully in maybe a week's time, if I do another one of these next week, then that'll be finished and I can show you the finished garment. So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and as ever, happy creating.